Hi folks, I'm here to JesusWired. I'm really excited about this interview. I'm here today with Tasha Layton. Say hello to everyone, Tasha.
Hey everybody.
So we just had a bit of fun getting Google to work. So please bear with us if we're a little bit tired.
Yeah. It literally took us 45 minutes to make this happen, but it is happening now, and that's all that matters.
Yes, join us in praying for Google that they can sort out their little gremlins.
Yeah.
Oh, how's your day going so far?
It's going good. We have had some cold weather here in Nashville this week, so it was snowing a little bit earlier. I don't know what the weather's like here, but
Have you done any snow angels yet?
no, not enough to stick. But it's cold and we're all bundled up inside. So
Sounds like this time of year. Sounds lovely.
yeah. And
Um,
I've already decorated for Christmas, so I'm enjoying the lights too.
well, I guess we know your answer to whether you decorate before Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving.
Well, I work at, a church and I lead worship and I do all that. And it's like, if you don't do it early, you don't have a chance to enjoy it. You don't have any time to enjoy it. So,
Fair enough. So, what church do you lead worship at?
I help with worship at Church of the City here in Franklin, Tennessee. And um, I also just travel around and lead at different churches. So that's kind of mainly what I do. But when I'm not doing that, I'm at my home church.
Awesome, awesome. So how? Just tell us a little bit about where you're from, how how you came to be in Nashville now, and a little bit about your personal testimony.
Yeah, I grew up in South Carolina in a small town, right down the street from a dairy farm. If I close my eyes, I can still smell it. But grew up in a Christian home, but I think like a lot of people, just experienced some hurt within the church and ended up sort of walking away from not my faith, but just organized church. I just went on a search and I went to Buddhist meditation camp. I went to mosque. I went to synagogue. I studied mysticism for a summer in Europe. I just needed to know truth. And God was not intimidated by my questions. I was a little intimidated because I grew up, really conservative. And so um, anyway, just all of that searching at the end of it all, I just realized like in all these religions, you're having to strive to be good enough or to reach God. And in Christianity, like Jesus is in hot pursuit of you and he is chasing after us and he came down to earth to be with us. And I was in a kind of a deep depression and was suicidal and God just got a hold of me, and that's all I can say is after that time back in college, I there was just that no turning back moment. And I then went to seminary because I just wanted to serve people. I wanted to be in ministry, so I um, went to seminary. I finished. I worked as a worship leader at a church for 4 years, and then by chance, I just was convinced to audition for American Idol. I said I would never do anything like that, and you know, I just decided, hey, let's have fun, and I'll enjoy hanging out with everybody, but. I was on the same season as Lauren Daigle and Tori Kelly and a lot of people. It was just really kind of awesome because I met some wonderful people that week. But at the end of the week, when I got cut during Hollywood Week as top 60, and I left and went home and I thought that felt really natural for some reason, like to not be doing music in the church. And I was surrounded by people who were also searching, and I'd already kind of walked through that. And so I just went to my pastor and I said, hey, I think that I might be called to do something outside of the church too. And he said, well, we've known that for years, and I'm glad that you're finally coming along to it. And so, um, not too much longer after that, I got a call to do the Kesha Rihanna tour. And I got the job, but the morning of, I just woke up and I just sensed the Holy Spirit tell me it's not right. And I just started questioning everything. I was like, man, am I just scared? Am I just self-sabotaging? But I've gone against that voice enough in life to know not to go against it. And so that day I called and I declined. And then the same time I was supposed to be starting rehearsal with them, I get a call from Katy Perry's manager. Can you be here in 20 minutes? And so I downloaded the song, I learned it on the way, and I left for Madison Square Garden with her 2 days later and was on tour with her for 4 years, a lot in your neck of the woods over there across the pond. And after my time with Katy, I just, 4 years, I was like, I just really miss leading worship. I miss singing songs that directly connect people to God. And not that Katy's music can't be inspirational, because she has a lot of songs that are inspirational, but I just missed that direct connection. And so I went and took a sabbatical, and I just let the Lord, speak to me and direct me in what I was to do next. And a lot of inner healing happened during that time. I went to counseling, and just lies that I'd believed when I was little that I was still living out as an adult. He just replaced every single one of those lies with truth. And as I replaced those lies with his truth, then I began to have the courage to do my own music. Even though I'd probably wanted to do it for a long time, I didn't have the courage. I was just too afraid. I didn't think I was good enough. And, all those lies that we just believe. It's human nature. And so after I went through that period of healing, I just had the courage to do it. So I moved to Nashville and started writing. And I knew, because the Lord loved me and valued me, that I didn't have to compare myself. I didn't have to worry about what anybody else was doing. I had to just do what I felt him call me to do. And so shortly after I moved to Nashville, I met my husband, who plays for Toby Mac, and he's a producer and a writer. And we just started writing, and then one thing led to another, and ended up joining a label and signing management, and here we are today. So
awesome. So you mentioned your husband, Keith,
yeah.
and I just want to know a little bit of a cheeky question. So how do you how much influence do you let your husband have on your music process? Do you allow him close to it, or do you push him away, going, get out?
No, he is really talented. So I love his input, and I love his influence. We write together. Most of my writes I try to write with him as well. Some I don't, but most I do. And he's just an amazing musician. So I really respect what he has to say. I will say that it's hard sometimes to work together as a married couple. You have to navigate the fact that, I know you better than anybody else. So when you say something to me, I can tell that you don't like that, but you're trying to be nice about it, And so when he and I are working together, sometimes he'll work a long time on a track, and I'll come in and I'll basically rip it apart. And then he has to, redo it. But it ends up like we've learned how to navigate that, and it ends up way more beautiful when we're honest with each other and when we go back and forth like that. And I think the music has ended up having a very specific style, because he's also the type of person, he's willing to listen to me too. And so it's a beautiful thing, but it's just like marriage. There are hard days and there are good days. So
Fantastic. So how would you best describe your sound? Because it's kind of CCM, but without it. It doesn't sound as though it fits within CCM. So how would you best describe it?
yeah, I have tried my very best to just be true to what I think, or who I think God's made me to be as a creative. And so I think we are most like God when we are creating, because he's ultimate creator. And so I'm trying to tap into his creativity and his presence when I'm creating. And I think one advantage that I'll say I believe I have is that I'm not from Nashville. I haven't lived here a long time. And I don't know all of the writing rules. I love to write, but I don't necessarily play by the rules sometimes, because I just don't know them. And I initially saw that as an insecurity and something I was to be afraid of. But I think now I'm learning to lean into it and say, well, why can't we do that? Why can't it sound like that? Why can't we do that? And, um, coupled with the fact that I think Christian music, there are a lot of people out there making amazing, amazing Christian music that sounds awesome. And I think it's just our job to keep, as creatives, keep doing what we're doing, and um, hopefully, Christian radio and the world will open their hands to it.
I meant to that. So you've kind of experienced both worlds. You've very much experienced the secular world. You're now experiencing the Christian music world. How would you say that Christian songwriters and artists such as yourself can, and us as Christian fans, how can we have a greater impact on the kind of secular world and break down those boundaries?
I think not being afraid to be who you are. And I think sometimes when we grow up in church or religion or anything like that, I think we have a pressure to please people, to do what we should do or what other people say is right or acceptable, or Christian music needs to sound like this. It can't have too much rhythm. It can't have, all those things. And I think in the end, um, God made you to be who you are, and it's beautiful. You're an amazing original when you tap into that. You're a cheap copy when you try to, be like everybody else. And um, yeah, I think really just being strong in who we are and not trying to be like secular music. Like, I'm not trying to be like secular music. I'm not trying to be like Christian music. I'm just trying to be honest with God, who have you made me to be? Because when we start comparing ourselves, that's when we lose creativity. Um, we lose the power of creativity when we start to compare ourselves. So I don't want to do that, and I'm trying not to. Trying my best to just get along with God and hear what He has to say, and not listen to all the other voices around me.
Sounds awesome. So what does your writing process kind of look like? Are you the kind of person who would jot down lots of different thoughts in your everyday life, or do you like to hide away somewhere for like a day and just go, right, God, what have you got for me today?
I think it depends. I think it depends on what season I'm in, but I really enjoy writing with other people, and I enjoy writing with people who are really sensitive. People who are a little bit more feelers, like I like that, because I think sometimes when I'm writing, I want to get out of writing with my head and begin writing with my heart. And so we usually get in a room, and I'd say I'm stronger melodically and lyrically, and my husband, he's strong at everything, but he usually fills that space of musically. He kind of works on some chord progressions and stuff, and I'm kind of working on the melody. But I find that my strongest writes are when I walk into the room with an idea already in my spirit, already in my heart. And even the single "Love Lifting Me," I came in with that idea because I had been struggling that day, just feeling down, and I was saying to myself, personally, like, I'm saying no to my downcast soul, saying no to the lies I tell myself. I just kept saying that to myself in my own devotional time in that morning. And when I went into the right, we honestly had 2.5 hours where we didn't get anything. And I was like, I didn't want to say what I had been singing that morning to myself because I thought it was dumb. And then finally I got up the courage to, well, I have this thing that I've been singing to myself all morning just for me. And I sang it, and then, the room, all of a sudden it flowed. And so don't be scared. I would say to anybody listening, like, don't be scared to just say what it is God has put on your heart, because chances are there's some other people in the room that might need to hear it too.
I meant that. So out of all these experiences you've had on American Idol and touring the world with Katy Perry, what would you say has been like the one biggest thing that you've taken from that you can now apply to to the Christian music world, as it were, as an artist?
Absolutely, hands down, the number one thing that I learned on tour is just that me being there is enough. That I don't have to change anybody's mind, that I don't have to try to force my opinion or my beliefs on anybody else. I just am myself, and the presence of God in me is enough to make an impact. And we underestimate how powerful God's love is, and we try to add judgment to it or add our opinion or all of that to it. And God's presence is strong enough in us because He lives inside of us to make an impact. And I think that is the number one thing I took away from touring, and the number one thing I'm trying to accomplish now is just being me and knowing that He lives inside of me, and that's enough. That I don't have to strive. There's a difference in working hard and striving. He made us to work hard. He gave us that model in the Garden of Eden: work hard 6 days, rest one. But He didn't make us to strive. And so I'm just trying not to strive right now, and just to rest in who He is and trust that whatever it is that He has planned for my life, that it's going to happen because He's in control.
Awesome. Loving your answers, by the way.
What'd you say?
Loving your answers, by the way.
Good.
So much spirit and passion in it. It's wonderful.
Awesome.
You don't get that out with some artists. Can you just take us behind that song, "Love Lifted Me"? So you said about how it kind of came about and what have you, but what's the feedback been like, and what have people said about how that song has lifted them?
Yeah, well, the history of the song is basically that time of counseling that I referenced. My counselor took me through some times where we went back to my memories of being wounded or hurt. And because God stands outside of time, because He created time, He's still there. And so every memory we went back and said, Lord, where were you in the room when that happened? Jesus, tell me where you are in the room when that happened to me, and what do you say about it? What did I believe about myself? But what do you say, and how did you feel about what happened to me? And so the verse starts out, when I think of those times I'm hurting, I think of you because you're there too. Like Him being there in that moment when I'm hurting, and every pain I feel you healing because you want to see my heart running free. Like that's what He wants for us, is that freedom. And so what's been cool about it is, I think, the song is fun and upbeat and catchy, but it's very deep and it's very meaningful. And the people who have responded to me are struggling with depression. They're struggling with lies they believe about themselves, because that pre-chorus, saying no to my downcast soul, saying no to the lies I tell myself. And I think most people have reached out in their weakness and saying, God is the only thing that can help me. And I've been singing this song in the shower or in the kitchen or in the car, and they're saying that they do feel lifted by it. And kind of the funnest thing that's happened is just people sending me videos of their little kids dancing to it. And I think that's amazing, because it makes it all worth it for me when I can tell that I might positively influence somebody's life from an early age. And maybe, like, who knows, like, the trajectory of their life might change because of a song or music that they listen to. So that's really special. And I think that's been the best feedback that I've gotten is, hey, my kids love it and they sing it. I think that's been the best.
So you referenced earlier that you struggle with depression. I struggle with depression. The people that the song has helped, they've struggled with depression. So what would you kind of say to those people who are out there right now watching this, who are really struggling with depression right now, other than telling them to go and listen to your song "Love Lifting Me"? What would you kind of say to them?
I think what helped me the most was getting to the root of the problem. I recognized that I was depressed because I was striving and not believing the right things about myself. It was even from childhood. One of my memories is growing up not having a lot of money and feeling compared and rejected. And so then the lie I told myself was, I'm not good enough. the lie I told myself was I have to be a certain way for people to not reject me. And so I made a vow to myself to live, in a certain way to try to get people to not reject me. But that lie of not being good enough was always there. And so I needed to experience. I'd been through tons of counseling, and that really helped me in some ways. But at the end of the day, I was more frustrated because I knew like what I should be feeling, but I still felt really down. And so I needed healing. There was a difference for me. And so when I went to counseling, I went back to those memories of, okay, sitting in a classroom with a bunch of people who I thought were better than me just because of where they lived or how much money they had that we didn't or whatever. Um, Thinking about how Jesus doesn't care about that at all. Like that Jesus, he gave me the parents I had for a reason, and he made my childhood. He wrote my story, and hearing him say, "You are enough. I love you. You're perfect to me." Like hearing those words from him is one thing when somebody else tells you your value and worth, and you can try to tell yourself too, but it doesn't have enough power to transform for me unless he says it and I hear him say it. And so I would say being in community, getting to the root of the problem, filling your spirit with positive and good things. Um, I think I was trying to just not be depressed, not be depressed, not be depressed, when in fact I needed to go serve somebody and be grateful and make sure that my eyes weren't just on myself, that they were on the people around me, because there's always someone who has it worse than you, always. And so being reminded that we're all in it together and that you're not alone. I think I felt extreme loneliness for a very long time in my life. And it wasn't until I realized that in those moments where I thought God was far away, he was actually very, very close. I just didn't feel him. And going back to those memories and realizing how close he actually was and is and will always be, that made a huge difference too.
Awesome, awesome. So going on to your other song, your most recent song, "I Belong to You," your debut song, sorry. One of
Yeah.
my favourite lyrics from that song is, "Even at my worst, you gave me your best."
Yeah.
That kind of fits in well with what you were just saying. So, how did that song come about, and yeah, what was it like to release music for the first time as an artist, as a like a proper artist, as it were?
I thought that releasing I Belong to You was the perfect way for me to debut the music, because that song is an earmark for me as a person, knowing my value and worth to Jesus and knowing whose I am, who I belong to, not just that I belong, but that I belong to Him. And what does that mean as a child of God? And what does that mean for my value and worth? I thought that was the perfect song to release first. And Brene Brown, she's an author here in the US, and she has a book called Daring Greatly. And in the book, she talks about belonging versus fitting in. And she says, to try to fit in, you have to change who you are, but to belong, you just are who you are. And I think for so many years, I just tried to fit in, and not even trying to be part of the cool crowd, because I didn't even feel worthy enough to be in the cool crowd. I just tried not to be rejected. Like I tried not to have anybody say anything bad about me, and try to be a good Christian, and to the point of unhealthiness. And I think once I realized my value and worth. Ephesians 2:10 says we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works that he prepared beforehand. And that word workmanship means masterpiece. And an artist's masterpiece, it's the same word we get poem from. It's poema. When you dig a little deeper, it means masterpiece. And for an artist, that a masterpiece is like the culmination of everything they do well. It's like their crowning achievement. It's their all that. And God says we're the crown of his creation, and He said we were very good when he created us. And when I think about how beautiful a sunset is, or how amazing, the most beautiful things I can think of, and beautiful masterpieces, architecture, all that stuff, even people, how pretty they are, whatever. Like God thinks that about me, that I am his masterpiece. He thinks that I'm so wonderful and the crowning achievement of what he's created. And he thinks that about every single human being. How amazing is that? And knowing that changed the game for me. And um, that's I Belong to You came out of that season of knowing I belong to you. Nothing could separate, nothing could take me away. Even before I believed, you believed in me. I mean, that's my story. Like, it's not just a song I wrote to release and, to make music. Like, that's my story. That's my testimony. So I think we overcome by our testimony. And so every time I put these songs out, I'm overcoming. I'm overcoming. I'm overcoming. And I'm trying to help other people overcome too.
Awesome. I love that. So you're, according to your bio, you're writing for your debut EP. You're getting ready to release your EP. So when can people kind of roughly expect that, or when can they expect new music from you at least?
Well, I would love to know that too. I would love to know when it's coming out too. We're actually having those conversations as we speak. So all the music is pretty much there. We just have to decide what's going on it, what's not going on it. And then there's input from label and management and all that. So it should be soon though. I want to get it out. It's been in my spirit for way too long. I've been sitting on it. I'm ready to move on to the next project. So I want to get it out too. So soon.
Awesome. We'd better just mention your label. So you're signed to BEC. So how did you get hooked up with them?
I got hooked up with BEC because of a man named John Hartley. He was very instrumental in Kingsway Music over on your side of the world, and helping with Delirious and Matt Redman, Tim Hughes back in the day. And he moved to the U.S. and he honestly, what'd you say?
He's a traitor.
He's a traitor, yeah. But he moved to the U.S. and I met him backstage at a conference that I was helping sing at. And he just came up to me and was just a kind of a father in the faith, just really encouraging and just a really lovely man. And my husband and I had coffee with him one day and we just shared the music with him just because we were sharing the music with him. I didn't know any of his connections or what he did. He just wanted to hear it, and so I played it for him. And then turns out that he had a relationship with BEC and was starting a worship portion of their label, and so that led one thing to another, and here we are today.
Awesome. So as we wrap this interview up, we're going to get to know you a little bit better. So what's your favorite naughty food treat that you go to when people aren't watching?
Warm chocolate chip cookies, like right when they come out of the oven. Like as soon as I cannot be burned, I will put it in my mouth and I will have a cold glass of milk, and I will put 1 cube of ice in the milk just so that it's like really, really cold.
I'm suddenly a little bit hungry right now.
I know. I feel like I need to go make some cookies now.
Oh, I do apologize for that.
I just might.
What's your favorite Bible verse?
Oh, I love Psalm 27, the whole psalm, Psalm 33, whole psalm. But I think one that has carried me is in James about trials and suffering. Like, count it all joy when you encounter trials and suffering, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you are complete and lacking nothing. I think that verse has been really instrumental for a long period, just walking through a lot of pain and hurt in my life. When he says count it all joy when you encounter suffering, that's because Jesus didn't promise us that we'd have a good life or like a stress-free or easy life, I guess. Good life, maybe. But he does promise that he'll be with us and that the words that he speaks and his plan for us, he's faithful to complete it. And so I think knowing that I can count it all joy when I suffer, that carried me, knowing that he suffered as well, much more than I could ever suffer. That has been a really instrumental verse for me. James 1 and Psalm 27 and 33. I love those psalms.
Awesome. You cheated there. I asked for one.
I know. I had to get them in there. You can't choose just one.
No, I knew you wouldn't be able to answer with just one. Does pineapple belong on a pizza?
Yeah, with like Hawaiian bacon and stuff like that, or just regular bacon. Yeah, I think that's awesome. Just tastefully. I think anything could be on a pizza if you do it right. It's when you start putting stuff together that does not go together that is wrong.
How about warm chocolate cookies on a pizza? Would that work?
You know, in the US, we have dessert pizzas, so I could see that happening. Cookie crust, yeah.
What's the most embarrassing song that you really love?
Oh gosh, I love rap music. So sometimes when 50 Cent, like in the club, I mean I love songs with good beats. What'd you say?
I remember that song from my school disco days.
Yeah, and I love oh gosh, like any 90s music basically is my jam. I love putting on 90s playlists. I love it.
So can you rap well? Because you can obviously sing well, but can you rap well?
Oh my gosh.
Or do you rap along?
I can't, I have done a couple Jay-Z songs with Katy, and then obviously I knew the Jesus Freak rap because I felt like every Christian needed to know that rap.
It's like one of the key things to each Christian faith. It's the Bible, have faith, love other people,
Jesus Freak rap.
Freak rap. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so I don't think I'm bad. I do have a huge fear of forgetting lyrics. So like at church when I'm leading worship, I really love that we have confidence monitors now because I am so afraid to forget them. And not because I don't take time to learn them. I just have a hard time remembering. And I also, when you're in the moment, sometimes you're thinking about being in the moment. You're not thinking about what the next verse is. And so, but yeah, I could rap a little bit. I'm not going to rap for you now. If that's where you're getting at. Ian. I know you're trying to trap me.
I was harshly debating it, shall we say? Just out of interest, what was your favourite song to perform with Katy Perry?
I loved Firework because it was so inspirational for the people who were singing it. I saw a change in atmosphere when we would sing that song. Because I think like Love Lifting Me, it lifts you. It reminds you that you are special, that there's something wonderful about you, no matter what anybody else has said or what you've told yourself. So I loved doing that song. And then I loved, it's an album cut, only Katy Cats would know probably, but Who Am I Living For? I loved that song too.
Awesome. So last silly question.
Mm-hmm.
If Pinocchio was to say that his nose would grow right now, what would happen?
It would not grow. No, it would grow because he'd be lying. No, wait. Oh my gosh, that's so hard. You've stumped me.
I love that you worked it out for yourself quite quickly, though. So
yeah,
the question that baffles many artists, and I really enjoy asking it because you just get to see confusion.
Yeah, I'm like, well, if he really meant it, then it wouldn't grow because he wouldn't be lying. But if he was lying and just saying his nose was going to grow, then it definitely would grow because it grows when he lies. So yeah, I don't know. That sounds like a British question, Ian.
Is it?
I don't
There
know.
are many things that I've discovered through all this music stuff that British people and American people do completely differently.
Yeah.
But that could be one of them. But I guarantee you'll be using that on your friends.
Yeah, I will. And my husband, he loves stuff like that, so I'll use it on him today.
We'll pray for him that he can cope with it.
Okay.
But mentioning prayer, so how can the JesusWired readers be praying for you over the coming weeks and months?
Yeah, well, I'm a new mom, and so I have a 14-month-old named Levi. He is wonderful. He's the light of our lives, and he's a miracle. Um, Both of us, my husband had known for 10 years that he couldn't have kids, and I knew that it was going to be difficult for me as well. And we were in Africa leading worship at a worship camp, and God healed us, healed my husband's back, which was most likely the cause, and we were pregnant 2 months later. And so we are just learning how to parent him well and trying to figure out like how to do life as parents now because we're in our 30s and have kind of had careers and done all this stuff, and now we have Levi in our lives, and it changes the game when you become a parent. Everything becomes about them. And so and rightly so. I mean, they're amazing. He's amazing and I love him more than anything on this planet. So I just want to be a good mom, and I want to learn how to raise him to know the voice of God and to know God's presence and be a good man of integrity. And so just pray for Keith and I that we just be able to parent him well. Even now at 14 months, he's into everything, and he's like getting into that rebellious kind of like, if you tell me no, I'm going to go do it thing. And so just learning how to navigate that. So
We will certainly pray for that. So has Levi reacted to your music yet? So has
oh, he loves it. He says, "Mama, Mama." He knows that it's
Turn it
me.
off. Turn it off.
Oh no. So I had to do a radio tour a couple weeks ago, and some friends watched him, and um they could tell he was getting a little crabby, just kind of missing us, probably teething a little bit, tired. And they put on the song, and he got really excited and said "Mama." So that was really special.
Oh,
Sweet for me to hear.
that's really cute. So where can people buy your music? Where can people find out about you? And where can they like follow you so that when you drop a Hot 16, drop some bars on,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah,
see
so
it first.
Instagram is always a good way. I'm always going to be posting on that. It's Tasha Layton, Layton, Tasha Layton. And so Tasha Layton Instagram, and then the website, tashalayton.com. And if you sign up for the mailing list, I send out a devotional, and I'm working on a book, so I send out an excerpt of the book, and I just kind of keep people updated through that. And I will not like send you a whole bunch of emails. It's not that many emails. I just want to keep people updated. So Instagram, Facebook, Tasha Layton, mailing list from the website, and then music, iTunes, Spotify. I mean, all the platforms have the songs now, and they'll have the EP when it comes out as well. So
Awesome. So what would you like to say to anyone else that they haven't said already? Just to wrap this thing up, and yeah, what else would you like to say to the people out there?
I'll just say that you're not alone. That just because somebody seems to be doing something really cool on social media, or they're an artist or anything like that, like they're human just like you and have the same insecurities, have the same fears. Um, they might be in a different capacity in life at the moment than you are, but like we're all in the same boat. And I go through the same insecurities as other people do. And I just want people to know that because it breaks that comparison off to say like, oh, well, they're doing really cool stuff. Like how can they have their life together? And I can't seem to pull mine together. I just want to like say that's not real life. Like we're all in it together, and everybody deals with the same stuff.
Amen. Well,
Yep.
that was Tasha Layton talking to us today. Go and pick up her 2 songs, Love Lifting Me and I Belong to You. Go and sign up for her email list, because I saw one of her devotions on her Facebook yesterday, and they're good, so you're going to want to read those.
Awesome.
Go and find her. Go and show her some love. Go and tell her to drop some bars on us and what have you, and try and get her to embarrass herself somehow. Thank you so much for talking to us today, Tasha. It's been absolutely great getting to know you.
I'm so glad that it worked out. I'm so glad we finally got Google to work.
So I was starting to panic about having to try Facebook Live for the first time.
I know. No, we got it. We got it.
We got it. God will always come through in the end.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much for talking to us today, Tasha. And God bless you and everything. Thank
you, Ian, and thank you, JesusWired. You guys are awesome.
We appreciate you saying that. We didn't pay you to say that.
You did not.
God bless and peace.
Bye.
Are you still there? My computer's not responding. Okay.
It still says live.
Does it? Well, if you're watching this, then hey, you've got a little bonus.
Do you want me to hang up?
Yeah, if you could. My computer's decided to throw a fit.
Okay. Bye, Ian.
Take care. Bye.